Hello and welcome to Starchaeology Tarot, home to tarot readings for anyone ready to dig deep and break inner ground. I'm Desi, your Starchaeologist, aka tarot reader. If you're here for the first time, welcome. This is not a coincidence. If you're returning, shout out to the Starchaeology constellation. I am so grateful you're part of the cluster. If you're hoping to receive blessings today, start by giving a blessing. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel right now. Give the abundance you wish to receive, and by divine law, it will come back to you. Thank you so much for your support. Now let's dig in. We're doing a pick-a-pile reading today, looking at a specific connection in your life that is taking up a lot of headspace and heart space. It's pulling focus, whatever that means to you. It doesn't have to be a love connection. It can be any connection that's simply taking up a lot of your focus and attention. So take a moment and see which pile calls to you. This is deck number 1, deck 2, deck 3, and deck 4. If more than one calls to you, that's okay. You can listen to both of those readings and receive resonant messages from both of them. Once you're ready, use the timestamps below to jump to the reading of your choice. Hey, if you're here, you chose deck number 1, which is the Trippin' Weight Tarot deck, Stars edition, a really cool psychedelic 60s type of deck. So I'm going to take a moment and call in spirit, call in source energy. I'm calling in the guides and angels of everyone in constellation 1. Everyone here. Across space, across time, it doesn't matter when you're seeing this reading. You're finding it exactly when you're supposed to be finding it. And your angels and guides know that. Spirit, tell us the truth of this connection. Tell us the truth about this connection, whatever it is. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm seeing someone who's been through a lot of pain, a lot of experience, but they have been very successful at transforming that pain into wisdom and not letting those past experiences limit them in any way. Okay. I'm also seeing a major rebirth happening, an ending happening. Either this connection has reached its natural ending, or if you feel like you're at the start of it, it's endings and beginnings are the same. So if you have just gone through some major transition, then you know that the connection that's on the other side of that is the one that you're in right now, and that it's an important new chapter for you. It's part of a major rebirth for you, a new life, a new life cycle that you've just entered. For others of you, if you haven't felt this transition yet, there is a transition yet to be happening in this connection. Something that this connection is actually facilitating for you. It's allowing for some kind of something to die that needs to die. That's been, that's moving through a very natural, normal life cycle. And there's something in this connection that's helping you do that. Whether it is the connection itself is the lesson, something that you are allowing that to end in order for you to take the wisdom and lessons from it to make yourself a more authoritative leader in your own life, an expansive leader, one that invites life to you, or something else. This could be, maybe the connection itself isn't ending, but it's allowing for something else in your life to end. It's allowing for some kind of cycle to come full circle and finish. I'm also hearing like surrender is a big theme in this particular connection. There's an element of surrendering, of letting go, of needing to let go and surrender to the inevitable. The inevitable is natural. I don't know how many of you need to hear that right now, but this inevitable ending is natural. And the more you resist it, the harder it will be to live your life from an expansive, courageous, open, curious place. Wow. Also, Six of Swords following the death. So, death card. So, there is something about this connection that's taking you to a new place. Again, is it that you're moving away from the connection? Only you know, based on where you are in your own personal timeline right now. Or is it that the connection itself is bringing you somewhere new? But I am seeing a major personal transition, a departure of sorts, a sailing to a new land with full of new hope and possibility. And that can't happen without this important ending happening. This hopeful new beginning can't happen without something dying. And this is all supportive of this Queen of Swords persona of someone who really is level-headed, is able to get information from her feelings in a way that expands her and does not limit her. I'm seeing the pain of transitions. All transitions are painful. And the pain of this transition, specifically for you, Cluster 1, is it's so crucial that you don't let that limit you. It's so crucial that you take in this information in a way that builds you up, that supports you, that makes you trust yourself more, that makes you look to yourself as the leader of your own life, that makes you excited to encounter more of life, not limited, not afraid of the future as it comes to you. And there's something about this transition that opens you up to allow you to do that. It's majorly connected with this connection in question. So I want to hear from those of you watching. I mean, already I'm so curious how this is manifesting in your life, whether this is the ending of a connection, a connection meeting a death, a natural death, or the connection is facilitating some death within you to happen. With the Six of Swords here, I'm also seeing a kind of rite of passage happening, and it could be that the rite of passage is grieving, is the acceptance and surrender to some sort of natural ending in your life. We all have to do that at some point. We all have to meet death, whether it's literal death or a metaphorical death, an ego death even. We all need to face that at some point. It's an essential, unavoidable part of the human experience, which makes it a rite of passage. And I see you with this connection going through this kind of rite of passage that allows you to transition in such a beautiful, hopeful way, a way that allows you to reinvent yourself, reinvent your world. Like, seek out the world that you want to be a part of. Seek out the community that you want to be a part of, as opposed to living from a place of default. Well, I'm here, so this is my world. No, this is someone who goes out and builds their world. This is someone who says, I'm not happy here, or this doesn't align with my values and my goals. It doesn't allow me to live in integrity, maybe. I'm going to go pursue elsewhere that world that I belong to. I'm going to find where I belong. And it's a great act of bravery, a real great act of bravery, Cluster 1, to do this. Because you can see in this card, there's a kind of loneliness to it. I mean, there's a kind of solitary, a kind of solitude to it. Even though the experience of endings is this universal experience, that doesn't make every person's experience of ending exactly the same. We have things that we relate to with other people, for sure. But it's this universal thing that also feels so individual at the same time. And it can feel so isolating, even though we know everyone encounters it. Everyone encounters endings. And yet there is something about the ending that we experience when it's personal to us that makes us feel completely alone, that makes us individuate ourselves in some way, and perhaps that's because it's putting so much emphasis and focus on ourselves in those moments, that we simply don't have the space to be taking in our surroundings. We're instead of looking outward, we're looking very inward, and by looking inward, we feel alone because all we're seeing is ourselves. All we're seeing is what's inside of us in those moments. And there is something about this connection that is, again, facilitating you to look at yourself very deeply, to undergo some kind of personal transition, to release some baggage even. We see the sword standing completely straight up in the boat, plugging up these holes, allowing the boat to float. It's almost like seeing past words, past beliefs, as tools to help us move forward, as opposed to blockages that keep us from progressing. And you have a real choice here with this connection. It's a choice between expansion versus limitation. Some clues about this connection. More clues about this connection. The Chariot. Wow. So, yeah, real surrendering of will. Real surrendering of will with this connection. The truth of this connection is that it may be taking you off course in some way, or what you think is off course. It might even feel like, you thought you were going somewhere. You thought you were so clear about your destination, and this is completely out of your control. It's coming from a completely different direction. It's adjusting your direction in a way that's completely out of your control, and it requires a great deal of, again, surrender, of letting go. The only thing that you are in control of is yourself in this situation, self-discipline. And this is an opportunity. The truth of this connection is that this is an opportunity for you to be very self-disciplined, whatever that means to you. As opposed to trying to control the other person, this is about shifting the focus to controlling yourself, because you have no control over that other person. Wow, giving and receiving, major themes of giving and receiving as well in this relationship. The power dynamics. There's a balance in your power dynamics. I love to see this upright as opposed to in reverse, because I'm not seeing an imbalance in power dynamics here. It might feel like one of you is doing so much giving and the other is doing so much receiving, and that might feel imbalanced. But the truth is that there's symbiosis in relationships sometimes that appear unequal. Equality is not necessarily having the same thing and doing the exact same thing. Rather, it's about filling a need in the other person, and that reciprocating those needs being filled. So them filling a need for you and you reciprocating by fulfilling a need for them. And that need may be like, one of you wants to be giving, one of you wants to be helpful, one of you wants to be needed, and the other one needs help. The other one needs someone to help them. They need service. They need charity. They need kindness. And one of them and the other person wants to be the giver of kindness, because that is a gift to them in some way. I do see a person here who is a kind of benefactor or mentor in some way, someone who is really, really helping the other person, giving them a great deal of aid, whether that is in the form of guidance or resources or confidence, or even just power, like seeing them in a certain way that allows the other person to rise up to be the best version of themselves, to fulfill this expectation from this other person, from this benefactor. It's like being on the receiving end of when someone expects something of you, someone sees you so much greater maybe than you see yourself, that inspires you to be the greatest version of yourself. And I'm hearing that that's true for some of you in this situation as well, in this connection. Give us a little more information, Spirit. Four of Swords, rest. Yeah, so I'm seeing also here that the truth of this connection, there is an opportunity to put to rest old beliefs, kind of to turn off some mental processes that maybe aren't serving you anymore, and achieve a kind of mental stability that maybe has not been there. I'm seeing rest, relaxation, meditation, recuperation, deep contemplation. And likely that has a great deal to do with whatever this death is, whatever this ending is, whatever this major personal transition is, whatever it is that you're in the process of surrendering to. In the act of surrender, you give yourself the gift of rest. You give yourself the gift of recuperation and rejuvenation, specifically mentally, and that's really, really, really important. That's not something to be undervalued or overlooked. Anything else, Spirit? Anything else? Any advice for this connection? Any advice for this connection? What's the best way for Cluster 1 to engage with this connection in a way that best aligns them with their highest self, their highest good, and their highest paths? Wow, okay, so the more cards we pull, the more I think that there is something about this connection that for many of you, and again, this is not all of you, but I think that there is an actual ending, that it's an ending in this connection that is waiting to happen. Maybe it's inevitable, I think, for some of you. For the advice to be the hermit, the advice is to go inward. The advice is to not be afraid of being alone, not be afraid of your own solitude, not be afraid of your own company, because in being with yourself, you find enlightenment. You're able to access deep, deep wisdom about yourself, about other people, and about the world. And for some of you, that is directly correlated to allowing the ending of this connection and the transition of this connection to progress. Don't be afraid of this connection ending. It does not mean that it never should have happened. On the contrary, it means that you completed what needed to be done through this connection, and you achieved what needed to be achieved through this connection, and you only fully achieve it by surrendering to its natural ending, by acknowledging that death is here for it, and that death is happening for you. And the more you try to keep something alive that actually needs to be put to rest, the more you hold your own enlightenment away from yourself, the more you keep yourself from your own, from integrating your deepest lessons, wisdom, growth from the experience. And that's really the gift of the experience. That's why you engaged in this connection in the first place, was almost to allow it to end so that you could learn what you need to learn from it. And I think letting go is a very big part of that. For others of you, if that is not resonant, again, if this is you've already gone through the transition, there's already been an ending, and the connection is actually on the other side of that ending, it's a part of a beginning, then the advice here is to keep the focus on yourself. Again, don't try to control the other person. Don't be so focused on the pair of you either. You know, it's not really about that, is what I'm hearing. Like, Spirit is saying, like, this is about how you show up in this environment, in the environment of partnership in this way, in the environment in the context of this connection. And when you keep the focus on yourself, that allows you to also be the best partner in that connection that you can be. You can really expand and work on your own self-exploration and self-growth in the context of this relationship. And that Spirit is saying, even like, that might be the purpose of this connection, is that it allows you to put that focus on yourself, whereas maybe other connections took so much focus from you and so much energy and required you to give so much to a point where it wasn't balanced, that you weren't able actually to grow in the way you needed to grow in those past connections. And this is one where you can be in this symbiotic relationship, this symbiotic connection, and keep the focus on you. That's not a pass to be selfish in any way. I just want to clarify that this isn't about like, don't think about the other person at all. It's more like, be responsible and accountable for yourself. And when you don't need to be doing so much to keep a relationship alive, which may be a red flag to begin with, it allows you to just exist as an individual in that relationship in a healthy way, in a way that doesn't threaten the relationship. And that is the gift of this one in particular. Give us one more piece of advice, Spirit. One more piece of advice. Oh, okay, guess we got two. Four of Pentacles and the King of Wands. Don't be afraid, cluster one, to let go of things. Again, we're having this theme of letting go. Don't be afraid to let go of things that need to be let go of. Don't be a miser. You know, we see that with the Four of Pentacles. Don't be holding on to the good bits, the blessings, so tightly that your hand remains closed. To see this here, especially in advice, it kind of suggests, being somewhat conservative in your resources, not spending everything at once, if that makes sense. Of course, we don't want to go into territory where you're holding on to everything and you're so afraid to expend any kind of resources in this relationship. It's not that either. We want to balance between saving resources in a way that makes you feel secure and makes you feel in control of what is yours, not being, in other words, not feeling pressured to allow someone in to spaces where you are not ready to allow them into yet. This is so much about boundaries, the Four of Pentacles, when applied to a connection like this. You can be conservative in where you draw those boundary lines. I'm also seeing someone with the King of Wands here. I'm seeing someone who is incredibly visionary, honorable, a kind of natural born leader, someone who is inspiring and inspires other people to join them in some kind of mission. So to come out with this, it's almost like saying, you can honor this person, whether this is you or this is the other person, like honor the things that make the King of Wands the King of Wands, but don't let that be an excuse for blurring boundary lines. You can still approach this very conservatively, very safely. You can still have these clear boundary lines. You can still say, this is yours, this is mine, until further notice. And if this is truly a king, this person won't be threatened by that, or shouldn't be threatened by that in any way whatsoever. I'm also seeing, though, it's interesting because the Four of Pentacles depicts a king who isn't really a king, like someone who thinks that they have more maybe than they do, and yet they're the one who's like really kind of holding on to their power in a way that feels a lot more fearful than this relaxed King of Wands who's not really holding on to anything but his staff, and it's just coming from a place of calm and peace, even though this is the King of Fire, someone who's like full of fire and mission and purpose and desire and lust and ideas and passion. And this person it just goes to show that real power in this situation is someone who has those things, and is willing to let go and move with the flow and observe, and not necessarily be, hugging their throne in the way that this Four of Pentacles person is. So there could be a kind of, in this relationship, in this connection, one of you may be teaching the other how to truly be seated in your own authority, and even though the other person might think they already are. So that's something interesting just to keep an eye out for. This is really, really interesting reading. I'd love to hear how this looks specifically for you in your life, so please comment below if you feel called to. I love you very much. If you haven't liked or subscribed, please do so. It means the world to me. I'm rooting for you as always, and I'll see you next time. Hey, if you're here, you chose the Ethereal Visions Illuminated Tarot deck by Matt Hughes. Such a gorgeous, like, Art Deco-y deck. Art Deco-y deck. I'm going to take a moment and call in source energy, call in spirit, calling in the guides and angels of everyone in constellation number 2. Oh my God, 10 of Cups came right out. Doesn't matter where or when they are seeing this, your angels and guides know. They know that you're seeing this exactly when you need to be seeing this. Give us the truth about this connection. Okay, well, okay, so right off the bat, 10 of Cups, truth of this connection, it is harmonious. There is such potential for beautiful, beautiful harmony, long-lasting harmony, and like domestic bliss in this connection. So if this is a potential partner, lover, or even just like family member, I'm seeing that there is a kind of like harmony in the way that you can live together and that you can be together and have a life together. Which is beautiful. There's real emotional fulfillment, like divine love, alignment in values is a big thing, I think, too. Alignment of values, and also just deep connection in general. If this is not a familial or romantic relationship that you were wondering about, in a work relationship or in a creative relationship, I'm just seeing, like, again, alignment of creative values, alignment in vision, in dreams, in like creative sensibilities, what you want to do, in such a fulfilling way, like a real fulfilling, emotionally fulfilling partnership and connection. I'm also seeing someone with the King of Pentacles who it really offers a kind of security, abundance, wealth, whether that's literal wealth or just a kind of like, I mean, really that could be wealth in so many different ways, whatever speaks to you, whatever comes to you, but they're rich in something. They're rich in, they're abundant in something. There's also such a kind of like security in this kind of leadership. Because they're disciplined. There's like, they're, you know, the way that a king is, it's like a king knows the balance between freedom and rules, freedom and structure. And with the King of Pentacles specifically, we see that how that looks in resources, in what we have available to us. And that creates a real sense of security. You know, money gives us freedom, for example, but if you spend all that money, if you have no structure in how you take care of that money, then it doesn't give you freedom. In fact, it could run you right into debt very, very quickly. It's the combination of this sense of disciplined structure plus freedom, freedom of abundance, freedom and wealth, that makes the King of Pentacles this trustworthy, reliable person. So I'm seeing that as being a major factor in this relationship, in this connection, which also in a creative or like work situation, that's also a wonderful partner to have in work, in the realm of work and career, because you know that this person is going to offer some kind of abundance and resources for you to create what you want to create, and that they can be trusted in how they handle these resources and manage them with you, which is great. It's the best you can ask for, I think. Give us more information, Spirit, about the truth of this connection. Thank you. Knight of Wands and the World in reverse. So Knight of Wands, so I'm seeing also someone who's really passionate, has a great deal of energy, knows exactly what they want, and acts on those impulses. They act on their gut instinct and follow where their gut instinct leads them. It's creates a real sense of adventure in life, and also just this kind of passionate excitement. But it also can be, for some people, you know, it could be a little bit challenging just because there is so much action that does happen that's coming from this gut reactive place. Not seeing much thought, period, you know, not seeing any swords cards here. Cups, Pentacles, Wands, and the World. This connection is really full of emotion and desire and passion and gut instinct. And those are the primary ways of knowing and of establishing security in this relationship, as opposed to logic, practicality, you know, analyzing the data, looking on paper and seeing, like, does this make sense? Like, that's not really an ingredient here in what makes this relationship, this connection, important or successful. To see the World in reverse, I'm also seeing that there's a potential for, like, or no, let's put it this way. There's someone is seeking personal closure. Whoa. Okay, sorry. This just, two more cards just jumped out onto the floor. 10 of Swords and the Star in reverse. So that's so interesting. I'm seeing someone in this relationship is really seeking personal closure, and they're kind of like looking for shortcuts in some way. I think that that's related to the Star being in reverse here, having a kind of lack of faith, despair, needing to trust themselves more, and really being disconnected from the self, and therefore feeling disconnected from others. It's very likely that the combination of these things, because there's this person's seeking personal closure, and you know, that kind of indicates that there's something in this person's past that's really troubling and has taken a lot of attention, and it could be that that is distracting that person from the truth of this connection, which actually is one of incredible harmony and potential for future harmony. The lack of faith and lack of hope, this sense of despair, it's important to remember that this is a personal experience. This isn't an experience between you and the other person. It's not about this connection. It's about an individual's connection to God. And there's a very big difference there. I think sometimes when we are partnered in some way, we think it's our job to be God, really, for the other person. You know, we think that, and I think culturally we're taught that. It's like we have to be everything to this other person, and this other person has to be everything to us, and we expect that. When the truth is, like, we're often trying to fill a God hole with our partner, and our partner will, or the other person, whoever that is, whether it's a romantic person, a family member, a sibling, a friend, a coworker, a mentor, a mentee, whoever it is, that person will never fill that hole when what we're experiencing actually is a lack of faith. It has nothing to do with that other person. And I see that being potentially I say a challenge, but really the real truth of that is that it's an opportunity. This challenge in this connection, and maybe triggered by this connection, is an opportunity for that faithlessness to be dealt with, confronted, and challenged. To see the Ten of Swords here as well, I'm seeing an ending, and for it to come out with the Star in reverse, I see this as a potential, again, the reason I'm saying this was an opportunity is because this is a potential ending of that kind of hopelessness. It's an ending of despair. It's an ending of faithlessness, of self-doubt and lack of self-trust. There's something about this connection. Yes, it can't fill a God hole, but it can facilitate. It can create a context and an environment that is supportive enough for an individual to explore that connection with the divine on their own in a really safe, supported way, in a way that gives them the freedom to allow them to do that. Because when we're in a state of survival, let's say this Ten of Cups was in reverse, and we're in a very non-harmonious relationship. It's full of discord, it's full of fighting, it's full of misaligned values. We are in such a survival mode that we're unable to, we don't have the freedom to be doing this kind of self-work. I mean, we do, but because survival is our number one concern always, that takes up so much space in our brains and in our guts, and our hearts even just turn off. I think sometimes when we're in that survival mode, it's not as easy. We don't feel like we have the freedom or the privilege to be deepening our self-exploration and our relationship with God. Of course, those opportunities are actually, or those challenges are actually incredible opportunities to strengthen our relationship with the divine. But it takes a great deal of effort to actually acknowledge that in the moment when we are suffering and to do something about it. Anyway, the Ten of Swords here, so I'm seeing, an ending, the loss, but coming with the Star in reverse, I'm seeing it as being like a loss of despair, which is wonderful. Just be careful not to hold, if this is you, be aware of this in yourself, or if it's the other person, be aware when you're watching this unfold in them as well, that the Ten of Swords has such it's a painful ending where we see someone like grappling to hang on against all odds. It's like taking 10 swords to let something die, to let something end, because there's such resistance in letting it end. And that's to say, don't be aware of maybe a tendency to be hanging on to despair, if that is some way in which you've identified yourself in recent years. A lack of hope, a lack of faith, a lack of self-trust. These things, these phases that we move through can very quickly become ways we define ourselves and things that our egos attach to as a way of defining ourselves. And you don't have to let it be that. I also see another interpretation, Ten of Swords with the Star in reverse, as being like a beware of a betrayal of self by abandoning faith, abandoning hope, abandoning self-trust, trusting yourself, and maybe even like giving your power to someone else, giving your trust, trusting someone else more than you trust yourself. That could be a piece of this. Also, the world, to see that with the Ten of Swords, is like a resisting of an ending, a resisting of closure in some way. I could see that some of you maybe are, you have this incredible this incredible opportunity for harmony and joy in your life, but there's a resistance to really giving all of yourself to it, because it means that a past chapter in your life has officially ended, and you don't want that to end. You're still holding on, even if it betrayed you and hurt you. The world, to see that in reverse, it's just like we're seeing a kind of, also similar to the Ten of Swords upright, like a resistance of an ending, or a delaying of an ending, of something coming full circle, of experiencing completion and integration and even accomplishment. There's like maybe an attachment for you, with an attachment to, on your part or your partner's part, an attachment to struggle, or an attachment to seeking. I'm a seeker. I don't want to actually have the thing that I have been looking for, because I've become more attached to the act of seeking than having. So that's just something to be aware of. And this also just might cause delays, in the manifestation of this kind of harmony in your connection. If you don't see it right away, understand that there are things that need to end before you're able to fully relax into that Ten of Cups, happily ever after kind of energy. And the world in reverse sometimes can signify delays. So it could just be that it's that recognize the delay for what it is, that it's only a delay of something that is ahead of you. It's not evidence that something is not coming, or that it won't happen. Do we have some advice? Any advice, Spirit, about this connection? Any advice? Whoa, Ace of Wands. Oh my goodness. What do you want? What do you want? Constellation 2. This is about opening yourself up to desire again, opening yourself up to inspiration, allowing yourself to feel excited about things again. Feeling the power of like creation, beginnings, and like the potential of things, like really surrendering to the beginning of something that desire always indicates. I think sometimes we are afraid of desire and we shy away from our own desires. But really, if we were to surrender to them and say, wow, this is a compass, this desire that's in me is not something to be suppressed, it's not something to be fought. It's a compass, and it's a seed. It's a seed that has such potential to lead and grow to something wonderful and beautiful in my life. This is about watering the seed. Water that seed of desire in you. Give it care, give it attention. And it's very likely that if you have a resistance to that's very linked to the star being in reverse, feeling hopeless, feeling a lack of faith, feeling like there is no one looking out for you and in your best interests, and feeling very disconnected from yourself and from divine energy. Justice to come to, wow. That is, I think, a way of interpreting that through the lens of guidance is to be very fair. You be the giver of justice in this scenario, and make sure that you give yourself the justice that you are due as well. Like, do not sell yourself short in this situation. Do not sell your partner short in this situation. Give credit where credit is due. Be fair, be just. Acknowledge cause and effect within this relationship. Acknowledge the universal law of that. When you confront challenges, be as fair and unbiased as you possibly can. Because either I see it either going one way or the other, either there's too much blame that's put on the other person, or there's too much blame being put on yourself in a way that can just exacerbate these delays and make you feel more hopeless and faithless. There also, I think, another interpretation of this is acknowledging the truth that's aligned with your desires, and the truth that your desires have to share with you. What does your desire communicate to you? What truths does your desire communicate to you about yourself and about your life? They carry a great deal of truth, and sometimes I think, again, when we suppress them or repress them or fight them, what we are really fighting is the truth of ourselves, like our truest form, the truth of who we are, the truth of what we're here to do. And by denying ourselves that truth, of course, we become more and more disconnected from ourselves and from God. I'm hearing that it's so, so important that you acknowledge the desire blooming inside you, the seeds of inspiration and creative spark within you, things that you want to make, even in the earliest stages, like acknowledging that and watering those seeds, because they carry a great deal of truth with them. And by denying that, you deny your own truth. And this connection, to bring it back to this connection, this connection facilitates you to do that. A big part of like seeing this connection thrive is committing yourself to doing this work, this kind of justice around your own desires and around honoring these beginnings of inspiration and creativity and desire within you. I'd love to hear how this looks specifically for you in your life, so please comment below and share. If you haven't liked or subscribed, please hit those buttons right now. I'd be so grateful. I love you very much, Cluster 2. Thank you so much for joining me whenever and wherever you are joining me at this time. It was perfect. I'm rooting for you as always, and I'll see you next time. Hey, if you're here, you chose Mermaid Tarot by Dame Darcy. A mermaid-themed, nautical-themed, beautiful, beautiful deck. I'm going to take a moment and call in spirit, call in source energy, calling in the guides and angels of every single individual who chose this deck. No matter where they are, no matter when they are, your angels and guides know that you're here with me as I shuffle now and pull these cards for you. We want to know the truth of a specific connection today, Spirit, the truth of the connection that is pulling a lot of attention, focus, feeling, thought. What is the truth of this connection? Seven of Pentacles. This is a connection that a lot of work has been poured into. A great deal of investment. A lot has been invested in this connection. And with the Seven of Pentacles especially, we see someone who has just given so much, and at this point, the garden is growing itself to a certain degree, and there's less to micromanage in this connection. It's almost like the connection is taken on, it has inertia, it has momentum, and you can't keep taking, whether it's you or someone else. I'm seeing someone here who can't keep putting in the same things that maybe they've put in the past to take care of this garden, because it's at a different stage in its life. it's evolved to a certain point, and it has different needs than it has in the past. And so if this is really about, if you have this kind of long-term view of this connection and you want to really create sustainability in this connection, the way to persevere is by acknowledging the truth of where it is right now, not where it's been in the past and what's been needed in the past, but where it is right now and what is needed now for the connection. I'm also seeing, just in general, that this is a connection of perseverance, a connection that's required a great deal of investment and perseverance, and is yielding results, is yielding jewels. It's yielding it's yielding pentacles. It's like it's translating into real world resources and support and abundance, real world abundance in your life. Let's give us some more clues about this, the truth of this connection. Oh, okay. Is that one card? Yep, that's just one card. So we see the Eight of Swords in reverse. We see the Fool. And we have, oh my God, and the Magician. That's beautiful. So I'm seeing right now, there's something about this connection, especially meeting it where it is right now, that allows certain negative thoughts to be released. Old patterns of restriction, restrictive thought patterns, victim mentality, maybe self-imposed restriction, self-imposed imprisonment, especially in how a person thinks and behaves and like believes, like almost like believing, engaging in beliefs that keep their hands tied. There's a releasing of that happening right now. A releasing of old beliefs that have been incredibly self-limiting, and perhaps that's related to why you're at this kind of crossroads in this connection right now, because what's worked up until a certain point is not what's going to work in the future for it. If you really want to invest in this connection long term. So it's requiring, what's going with it is this kind of like the pulling the wool off of your own eyes, and seeing the role that your beliefs or someone else's beliefs have played in this connection up until this point. There's a great opportunity to really like challenging one's inner critic in this connection, and opening one to a new perspective. I'm seeing like someone teaching someone a new perspective or exposing them to a new perspective in this connection, in a way that's incredibly liberating and allows for a new beginning and an acknowledgement of potential in a way that is like life-changing. To have the Fool and the Magician here is wild. That's the first two cards in tarot, the ones that are most full of potential possibility, and then also like the manifestation of those potentials and those possibilities. I'm seeing someone like diving into this connection with just this free spirit and this real kind of innocence, and that's so beautiful. I think that the relinquishing of like old self-beliefs is what allows this person to do this, to dive. It's a dive of faith. I was gonna say a leap of faith, but this mermaid's clearly diving. It's a dive of faith through this portal of possibility, and with that comes this a true new beginning. And it's this, other people might look at this person and say, that's so foolish, that's so reckless, that's such a big risk, especially when you've built so much up until this point. The Seven of Pentacles of like, look how much you've done, but you're almost at the 10, like you've done so much up until this point. But there's a recognition that We have new beginnings. We have endings and beginnings within a single story all the time. Within a single lifetime, we live many lives. And we need to be the ones who recognize, oh, this is a death and this is a rebirth moment for me. And other people might not be able to see that. Other people might say, that's foolish. Why would you give up, what you have up until this point? But only you know what that self-imposed restriction is. Only you know the way that your beliefs have, or your inner critic have affected you, because you're the one being exposed to that. So you see the shadow as clearly as you can see the light. And other people can't see either as clearly. Other people can't see the potential as clearly as you. They can't see the light as clearly as you. They might say, oh, that you're being so optimistic. You're such an idealist. How can you possibly think that? But they also can't see the depths of your own darkness. And so when you've experienced both of those things in yourself, you develop a kind of self-trust, and also like you have a better sense of your own reality than anyone else does. And that's what's so crucial to remember in the context of this connection. You have a better knowledge of reality than anyone else does. I think now more than ever, especially since the Eight of Swords is in reverse, since you're releasing beliefs that may be untrue. You're seeing truths, I think, here. Then I have the Magician here. There is such power to reinvent what this is. Such pure manifestation power. You have all the resources available to you. You have so much power. And all that is required of you is to take action. You don't have to know exactly where you're going. You don't have to even know exactly what you're doing. You just need to know the next step. One step in front of you. And do that. Take the one step. The one obvious step that's just right in front of you. And then when you take that step, the next step will make itself clear to you. And then the next step will make itself clear to you. And then the next step will make itself clear to you. This is about acknowledging that your action is required to carry out the divine plan for you. And you can have all the ideas in the world, you can have all the access to that inspiration, you can have a clear vision of what that is, but if you are not taking action, you never bridge the unseen to the seen. You never take what you know to be true in about your future and make it a reality. Your action is a required part of manifestation, of the manifestation of your highest, best potential. And I'm seeing that there's, especially with this connection, action needs to be taken. There's action that needs to be taken. Otherwise, things remain in the realm of the unseen and are never brought into the three-dimensional world. It doesn't need to be done perfectly. That's what we always remember with the Magician. And nothing has to be done perfectly. There is no perfect. It just has to be done. There are just things that need to be done that will continue to give you more information as you do them. And you'll get more information as you do them. If you wait for more information before you do anything, you won't receive that information. It's almost like the action is what brings more information to you. The action is what educates you. The action is what deepens your connection to direction, to divine direction. It allows you to hear that direction more clearly, more and more clearly, the more action that you take. So I'm just seeing such great manifestation power with this connection, such potential for a new beginning. But it does require a leap of faith. It does require imperfect action, let's say. Action that just comes from your gut, inspiration, I'm just like, oh, I had this idea, I'm going to act on it. I don't have time to question, I don't have time to criticize it. And I'm not going to do either. I'm just going to act on it because it came from an inspired place. And I don't know where it's going to lead me, and that's the point. I'm going to see where it leads me because that's why it came to me in the first place. Give us a little more information about this connection, the truth of this connection. Yeah, so even though I'm seeing a new beginning here and great potential, I'm not seeing you moving away from anything. I'm not seeing you move away from the connection itself. There's a kind of staying with this and allowing the transition to happen within you, not an outward transition. This is a transition. There's something in this connection that allows a transition to happen quietly within you, to finish like business inside yourself. That doesn't even have to really do with anyone else. It doesn't have to do with this connection. It's about you taking care of unfinished business within yourself, you undergoing a very personal transition. And it doesn't necessarily affect the conditions, the outside conditions of your life. It doesn't affect necessarily the conditions of this connection, for example. But there is a personal transition that is happening. And maybe it's not actually in you, maybe it's in your partner. But the truth is that there is a personal transition that is happening or needs to happen. And nothing needs to change on the outside, but a lot has to change on the inside. Give us a little more information, Spirit. Okay. Eight of Wands. Eight of Wands in reverse. There may be some delays and frustration. Delays and frustration, whether it's in that personal transition or it's in taking that leap of faith. Don't be hasty. Temperance is here as well. Don't let that discourage you if there are delays. Don't let that frustrate you if there are delays. The point is that you're taking action, even if it's any action every day. This action might not necessarily mean that things are progressing exactly as quickly as you want them to. It might feel like you're taking a ton of action and nothing's happening. That's exactly what needs to be done. That's what shows the universe that you're showing up, you're doing your part of the bargain, and that's all that's required of you. That's all that's asked of you. For Temperance to be here too, there's a real balance in this connection. There's patience in it. There is a sense of purpose. There's moderation. There's balance. And there's something about this connection that is here to teach you that, to drive that home even more. I think that this is both a gift to you, a blessing of the connection, and it's also your guidance. It's also inviting you to learn this and engage this kind of approach to relationship, but also just to life itself, living from a place of moderation. The Moon's in reverse and the Eight of Cups is here as well. So there is confusion maybe about what you leave behind. Interesting, we have the Six of Swords in reverse and we have the Eight of Cups up right here. So there is I think the biggest piece of advice here is don't let, as things are shaken up, we have the Moon energy here, we have a releasing of fear, of illusion, that Eight of Swords in reverse, a releasing of illusions. This connection is showing you the truth about your reality and who you are and what you're capable of and your ideal world, and like will you step up to the plate? Will you take risks? Will you take this leap of faith? Like, this is all, something about this connection is an opportunity to step into this new version of yourself in many, many ways. And a big part of that has to do with releasing fear, releasing, facing confusion, facing the chaos of like being in this mix of like, oh, this is my intuition and this is my fear, and being able to tell the difference between those two things. Facing your reality and facing the illusion, what you thought was your reality up until this point. And being able to sort those out. It's like living in that, it's doing subconscious work, or work in your subconscious space, going very deep with yourself, maybe in a way that you've avoided in the past because it's scary, because that's where your fears live. That's where you start getting confused, because your fears show you a very different reflection of what reality is, and you'd rather just not engage with it at all. The truth is that when you face those things, you can confront them and resolve them more quickly than if you avoid them. When the realities that fear creates, or the illusions that fear creates, linger in your subconscious and you avoid confronting them, the more power they ultimately have over us by living in our subconscious, because we act from a subconscious space so much of the time, as much as we'd like to not think that, we do. So I'm seeing there's a lot of fears for you around abandonment, around escapism, like withdrawing, wanting to withdraw, being disappointed, wanting to leave even when things seem to be going well. It's just kind of like, I am afraid. I'm afraid to get involved. I'm afraid to be committed in any way. Or I'm afraid of being abandoned, like I'm afraid of caring too much, even though things are perfect, things are going very well. I'm afraid of letting myself care too much because I'm afraid I'll be abandoned. There's a lot of truths that are going to be confronted, and fears that are going to be confronted around this specific topic for you in this connection, which is going to allow you to take a leap of faith on a new beginning, a new way of thinking, and access new potential and power in this connection, so that these kind of fears don't have that same power over you. This is really a powerful reading. I mean, a lot of the messages in here are powerful. I'd love to hear how this looks specifically for you in your life, so please open up and comment below if you feel called to. I love you very much. If you haven't liked or subscribed, hit those buttons. It means the world to me. I'm rooting for you as always, and I'll see you next time. Hey, if you are here, you chose the Pasta Tarot, created by Rob Trulia and Jeff Petriello. A very cool pasta-themed Italian tarot deck. It's made by queer Italian Americans, and it's full of Italian tradition, which as an Italian, I love. I'm going to take a moment and call in spirit, call in source energy, and also call in the angels and guides of everyone in star cluster number 4 who chose the Pasta Tarot. So we have the 7 of Pentacles, or Minuta. 7 of Pentacles, funny, that just came out in the last cluster as well, constellation number 3. Give us a little more information, Spirit, about this, the truth about this connection. Truth about this connection. Whoopsies. Okay, that was plenty. So we have the 7 of Minuta, or Pentacles. We have the Magician. Are you kidding me? These are exactly the cards in different order that came out in Constellation 3. And then we have the Three of Cups, or ripiena, and we have the Due di Minuta, the Two of Pentacles. Funny, similar cards, but very different message already. The truth of this connection. With the Seven of Pentacles, I'm seeing that there's definitely this connection has a long-term view. It has a potential sustainability. It's a real investment in your life. Great potential for long-term rewards and long-term benefits. You know, it's a slow burn. It could be a slow burn for some of you, but it also just shows that there's something about this relationship that with hard work, it withstands the test of time, and it's an investment that so much can come from, so much good can come from. I am seeing that it also has the potential to be a great deal more than it is right now. Real magician potential to like manifest whatever you want it to be long term. Like you have a great deal of manifestation power here, to make this relationship be whatever you would like it to be the best version of yourself. And I'm also seeing that it's the acknowledgement of that, the acknowledgement of the potential, and maybe this relationship allows you to acknowledge potential. Like the truth of this is that this connection opens you up to your personal power together. Even like it's like, wow, when I'm with this person, I feel like I can do anything. I feel like I'm so powerful. I could create anything. That can give you the bravery to take a leap of faith that that may result in like incredible emotional fulfillment and friendship, a real sense of community. I don't know right now if you feel like there is an element of friendship that is lacking in this connection. You know, like maybe it's a deep connection, but it's like, is this person my best friend? Do I feel this kind of communion, this kind of community? Does this person feel like family to me? Is this person showing up the way that family shows up? Is this person showing up the way that, like, you know, your best friends show up for you? And that maybe the potential for that is there, but it requires a leap of faith on your part. It requires a kind of optimism and innocence to start something new, to start a new dynamic in this relationship, understanding that what you've done up until this point has served you to this point, and now something else is needed for a different result. I'm seeing that the truth of this connection is that it holds a new beginning for you. It holds, it can unlock a version of yourself that is more free-spirited, a version of yourself that's less risk-averse, one that's more willing to take leaps of faith, to start something new, to do things based on the joy of doing them, that comes from just like the joy of like trying something, as opposed to making decisions based on the fear of failure. That's something that doesn't really come into play here. And a big part of that is recognizing the potential of the connection and recognizing the personal power that you have in this relationship. And when you really understand the truth of that, you understand that any risk, that the risk here is beyond worth taking. It is beyond worth taking. It can only good really can come of it. I'm seeing a decision here with the Two of Minuta, Two of Pentacles. That might feel, it's like a decision between priorities, really, you know, or maybe it's just like the juggling of different priorities. that is important, in an important ingredient in determining the potential of the connection. What is the most important thing to you here? Are you able to see the potential in the relationship long term, in this investment? Are you able to consider a world in which you take a great leap of faith, deepen friendship, deepen connection and emotional fulfillment, and collaboration? Like, I'm seeing a real sense of like creative collaboration here. And the potential for that is there. But again, it requires you to take that first step. It requires you to take that leap of faith. And that might require a reshuffling of priorities in the relationship itself. For some of you, I'm hearing like, it's like a giving up of superficial things, of seemingly superficial things, like maintaining, like, I don't know, a certain version of your appearance, like maintaining a certain way that you appear to this other person, and understanding like it isn't about that appearance. If you put more effort into this and took some effort away from carefully curating how you appear to this person, you might be very pleasantly surprised what comes of it. A true new beginning, a true manifestation of your wildest dreams in this connection, in this partnership, and one that's so full of friendship, community, creativity, collaboration, and also just celebration. Like, there's so much to celebrate in that. But it definitely rests on you deciding what is most important to you and redirecting your focus, attention, and energy appropriately, committing yourself to what you actually want to be committed to long term, not what you're committing to kind of just by default or because you feel like you should be committing to those things. Wow, the Emperor. Yeah, for some of you, this connection is like, I mean, this is going to be a little Freudian, but like, this connection is like, if you're someone who's like, I always wanted to I wish I could like marry my dad. Like, I wish I could find as good of a man that my mother found in my father. That potential is also here. That potential is definitely here. I'm also seeing like that maybe this person is like father material. What's the truth of this connection? The truth is that this person fills that parental hole for you as well. We as we get older, we recreate the relationships we had with our parents, with our partners, and that's natural, honestly. It's something that we all do. And so if we had very good relationships with our parents, it's kind of a win-win, because we know what we're looking for in a partner, and we're able to sort out and take out unhealthy potentials, because we have this wonderful example of what a healthy relationship looks like. If our relationship with each parent was very healthy. So this is, especially because this is upright, I'm seeing that you have a real healthy relationship with this kind of parental authority in your life, with authority, with structure, with discipline, with the divine masculine. Your relationship with the divine masculine is really beautiful. You acknowledge what that is, and you it's not imbalanced for you. There's not like too many rules, or not enough discipline, or too much control, or lack of control. It's not overly dominant, it's not overly subordinate, it's not inflexible. It's like there is this kind of authority, establishment, structure, father figure energy, and the potential for that in this connection is there. A very healthy balance of control between you and this person. A beautiful balance of discipline and of domination. It's really encouraging. What advice do we need with this particular connection? What advice for cluster number 4? Beautiful. Oh, are you kidding me? The Emperor right next to the Empress. Wow, this connection's powerful. I mean, this connection has such a beautiful balance between feminine and masculine energies that it says nothing to, just side note about gender. This doesn't matter if you are in a same-sex couple, if you're heterosexual, like every connection, there's a balance between traditionally feminine and masculine energies, or what we define as divine feminine, divine masculine energies. And even within ourselves, we have these different balances of divine feminine and masculine energy. There is this wildly perfect balance, or the potential for this wildly perfect balance between you and this person. This connection, it's almost like you're stepping into the parental connection that you glorified, like growing up, and one that you looked up to, and you said, that's someone that I want to be that mother and father. I want to be that mother and mother, or father, you know. That this team is so beautifully balanced. There is freedom, and there's commitment. There is, wildness, and there is structure. There's creativity, and there's pausing, there's stillness. There's abundance, but also there's a humility and an understanding of what is too much. Really, this is like, I haven't seen anything like this in a while, where both of these come out at in the same reading, right next to each other, perfectly split down the middle. There's such a beautiful balance in this, of femininity and masculinity, of nurturing and discipline. I'm seeing that you both give each other the support that you need, the nurturing you need, but you also challenge each other in the ways that you need to be challenged. It isn't all just like, you can do whatever you want and I let you do that. It's like you hold each other accountable. There's a potential for real accountability and growth in this relationship, and being the most beautiful, balanced version of yourselves. I think that the Empress coming out, because I was also specifically asking for guidance. That's really interesting that the Emperor is already there, and the Empress came out when we're asking about guidance. That suggests to me that you have, like, it's almost like you have all these checks about what this relationship, this connection checks off so many boxes for you. Just practical things, like, just if you were to, be following a rule book around a relationship, this relationship meets all those rules and requirements. The advice could be to inject a little more wildness, and don't be afraid of chaos in the relationship. And I don't mean like chaos in a bad sense. I mean chaos in the way that we think of nature versus, like, city life. There's balance, and there's beauty, and there's actually design in nature, but it feels, we call it the wilderness for a reason. It's wild. Instead of trying to control nature, we observe it, and there's more room for you to be observing in this relationship, as opposed to trying to control it and dominate it and make it go a certain way. There's more room to be an observer and to honor what it is as it is without trying to change it. There's a beauty in what it is, and there's also, like, so many blessings. There's so much abundance in what this relationship already has to give you, just naturally, things that it already is a teacher to you. There's so much that you can learn from it as is. And that is such a gift. I mean, I think there's also room for you when you're thinking about what you want to manifest in this relationship. There is room for more unconditional love and nurturing and care. I think there's already a lot of like tough love in this relationship. There's a lot of like, I see what you've accomplished, and I've seen where you can grow, and I'm not afraid to tell you what those boundaries are. I'm not afraid to tell you what I notice. That's where we see that Emperor energy. There can also be more acceptance, though, of the flaws, of the faults and the failures. There can be more acceptance and loving of those things and embracing of those things. More mothering energy between the two of you. And more creativity as well. I mean, I can also see this, you going on to create things together, whether that's like creating a human together or creating a project together. But there's a great deal of potential for creativity between the two of you. It's a connection of creativity, and that creativity leading to a great deal of abundance. We also have the King of Lunga, which is the King of Swords. And he's in reverse, though. So also, when thinking about advice here, I think that a way of, and pairing this with the Empress too, a piece of advice here is that embracing that motherly instinct within your relationship towards each other, that unconditional love, that unconditional acceptance, that actually can resolve a kind of lack of mental clarity about your relationship right now. That can bring some mental clarity and truth to your relationship. It also, because right now there may be a kind of misuse of authority over each other with this Emperor energy, and maybe even sometimes like a misjudgment of each other. And so the Empress kind of unlocks this door to like better judgment of each other, better judgment of your relationship, this kind of intellectual power, authority, truth about your own connection and about each other and about yourselves within this connection, and about your future too. I think that there's advice here to determine your own inner truth through this kind of Empress. You're embodying this kind of Empress energy of self-acceptance, self-unconditional love. This isn't just about giving it to your partner, but giving it to yourself. Self-unconditional love. This patience that a mother has, but applying that to yourself, that can make you clearer on your own inner truth and inner knowing and inner authority. If that might be different from your partner's inner truth and inner authority, and that's okay. That's even something that can be accepted in this situation. It's not a deal breaker. And remembering that and allowing that space for difference also is what helps manifest this kind of beautiful masculine feminine balance within your relationship. It's like an acknowledgement of the ways in which you are different, and knowing that that is okay, and that you bring different things to the relationship at different times when there's different needs, and you each have very important parts to play in it. This is so beautiful, cluster 4. I want to know what this looks like specifically in your life, so please feel free to open up and comment below if you feel called to. If you haven't liked or subscribed, please hit those buttons. That means the world to me. I'm trying to grow this channel more and more. I want to grow the Starchaeology community a great deal. So anything you can do to help spread the word, I greatly appreciate it. If you'd like a personal reading, check out my links below. Prices start at $11. And what else? I love you. That's the big thing. I love you. I am rooting for you as always, and I'll see you next time.